Hello, and welcome back to another REPL.it Java CodingBytes speedrun with me, Vince. Today, we're going to be going over the final 4 loop challenges in the REPL, and by the end of the speedrun, you should be confident in your for loop coding skills. So let's dive right into it. So, as you can see, we're going to be starting on challenge 29 and ending on challenge 33 in this speedrun, which covers the remainder of the 4 loop speedruns, including the 2 optional challenges, which I think everyone should at least attempt. Right. Let's get right in. So given the following inputs, we're given a string. We want to write a for loop that will print out each letter separated by spaces on the same line. Okay. So in this case, when we want to loop over a string, we want to use the usual for loop syntax for int I equals 0, I is less than the length of the string, because we want to loop over each character. And remember, indexing in a string, so the first character of the string is character 0, and the last character of the string is the length of the character minus 1. So we can simply just check if it's less than the length of the string, s.length, I++, adding 1 to I each time. And we want to simply print the character at that position and a space. So we can go system.out.print s.charat, which finds the character at this index, I, and we want to add a space. And that's it, really. So that was pretty simple. So if we run this code and we give an input like hello, as you can see, it prints hello, but with spaces in between each letter. Let's just check it for another one, but that's it. I mean, that was pretty simple. Covert, and as you can see, it's again printing spaces in between each letter. And so that's how you loop over a string in Java. Right, on to the next challenge. So now we're given us another string. We want to write a for loop that prints out the reverse of this string. Okay, so if you watched my previous speedrun, you will remember this for loop for int I equals x, x minus 1, I is greater or equal to 0, I minus minus, which loops over the reverse of a number, starting from the number minus 1 and counting down to 0. And that's what we're going to have to do here. Instead of using x, we're going to use the length of the string. So we'll start at the last character of the string and slowly decrease the index until we get to the first character of the string. Finally, we just want to print the character at the position, so we can go s.charat I. And that's it, really. That's all the code we need to do for this. So if we input Manhattan, as you can see, it reverses the string correctly. Let's just try processor, race car, processor, and as you can see, it reverses the string correctly. So that's how you combine both reversing the numbers and strings in Java. Right, onto the next challenge. Okay, so we're given a string. We want to write a for loop that prints out the string in alternating cases, with the first letter being lowercase. And they give us these methods that for this first one will convert every letter of the string to uppercase, and this one will convert, every letter of the string to lowercase. Now there is a warning to not use char@, because char@ returns a character, and I'll just speak a bit about the difference between a character and a string. More or less, a character is just a single letter. It cannot ever be more than a single letter. It's like 1 or 4 or A or S or E. But a string can be more than one letter. And that's the difference. It can be one letter, it can be no letters, but it can also be more than one letter. And that's the difference. So yeah. Instead, they want us to get the string, so we can use these methods. Fair enough. So we want to loop over every letter in the string for int I equals 0, I is less than s.l length, I++. And now we want to have, actually no. So how do we alternate the letters? And we're going to do that by using the modulo operator, which I think I talked about 4 or 5 speedruns ago, but it gets the remainder of some division. So we want to check if, say, I modulo 2 is equal to 0, which means that the number is even. Then we want to make the letter lowercase, because as you can see, every character at an even index in these words is lowercase. So we can print system.out.println, and first we want to get the substring of the string, which is this a single character. So str.substring I plus 1, and we want to then convert this to lowercase. So just going over this again, this is our string. We're getting a smaller string. So say if we loop over this and I0 and we're putting in powerful, this gets P. So our string is powerful, and then our substring is in the first index is P, just a single P. And then we want to convert this to lowercase, which will do nothing, and we'll just leave it as P. And so that's it. And otherwise, if it's not even, if it's odd, we can convert it to uppercase instead. And if we run this code using like powerful, forgot semicolons. As you can see, it's capitalizing every other letter, and so this should all work. Okay. Okay, as you can see, it's all working. And we'll move on to the next challenge now. Sorry about that. Let's move on to the next one. So our next challenge is to make a copy of the Fibonacci sequence. For those who weren't aware, the Fibonacci sequence is a series of numbers in which the next number is the sum of the previous two numbers. The first two numbers of the Fibonacci sequence are 0 and 1. Okay, that's interesting. Normally we start with 1 and 1, but I guess that's okay. And as you can see, every subsequent number is made by adding the last two numbers together. So first we need to create two placeholder variables for the previous number and the number before that. So we can say int prev number is equal to 1 at the very start, and we can also say int previous number is equal to 0. And we want to just loop over to get the Fibonacci number. So for int I is equal to 1, we want to start at 1 since, 1, 0, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, we want to start at 1, and we want to loop over until I is greater than or equal to x, and we want to add 1 to I each time. And we want to do some math here. So first let's calculate the next term in the sequence, say here. So number is equal to previous number plus previous number. And now we want to shift all of the numbers back 1. So first we'll set the previous number to the previous number. So previous number is equal to previous number. And then we want to set the previous number to the number. So we just shifted everything back. Previous number is equal to number. If you don't get this, maybe toy around, have a playthrough of it. But what we're doing is in this line, we're calculating the next number in the sequence, and then we're shifting the sequence back some numbers. And finally, at the end of all of this for loop, our previous number should be equal to the, oh, actually it says print out the first x numbers. So we can print the number up here. So system.out.println. I'm going to assume they just want spaces in between all the numbers. So we can say number plus space, and this should work. So, oh, sorry about that. Let's just test 8, I guess. And as you can see, oh, it probably wants us to print the 0 and the 1 at the very start. So we can just add that here. We can just simply print 0 and then 1 at the very start of the entire sequence just to ensure they are there. 0, 1, yeah. And we actually, I'm looking at this right now. I think we have to start I at 2 just because we have 2 numbers before we even start the for loop. So if we run this code now, and we put 8, as you can see, it gives the correct output for this input. And so I think we can just submit this code. I honestly think this, yeah, this should be okay. Okay, yeah. Now let's move on to the final for loop challenge. So it wants, okay, so we're getting a string in, and we want to check if it's a palindrome or not. So palindrome means all the characters are the same forwards and backwards. So it's like if you split the string in half, both sides would be a mirror image. And so how are we going to check if it's a palindrome or not? So we want to loop over every character until just before halfway there. So we can go for int I equals 0, I is less than s.length. And now we want to use a special trick. S.length divided by 2. If this number is even, it's fine, it will just return an integer. But if this number is odd, it's actually going to round down because this is what's called integer division. And in integer division, we always round down. So, sorry, and then I plus plus, of course. And now we want to check if the two characters are equal to each other. And it should be case insensitive. So we can check if s dot substring I plus 1 dot, and then let's just convert everything to lowercase so it's case insensitive. To lowercase is equal to dot equals, and we want to test if it's equal to s dot substring, and then we're going to take it from the end of the sequence. So we're going to say s dot length minus I minus 1 s dot length minus I. This should be working. If you don't understand why, just play around with the numbers and you'll learn a bit more about indexes. And so if it equals that lowercase to lowercase, very long if statement, probably could have done that better. Actually, want to check if it's not if it's not equal, if it's not lowercase. So if all of that is not true, then we want to break out of this for loop and we want to create some variables. Say, let's create a Boolean and like palindrome, and let's set this to true at the start. And if we do find two characters that don't match, then we can set this to false. So palindrome is equal to false. And finally, we can just print palindrome. Print palindrome. And that's it. So if we run this code, let's put a palindrome in. Let's put maybe, sorry, I forgot to put brackets there because it's a method. I think I'm missing another bracket. Yeah, so never write long if statements. Let's try and break this down. Let me just check what's wrong. Okay, I'm back, sorry. So let's try and break this down to see why we're getting the error. So first, let's get the character on the left. So, sorry, I mean the string technically. So we can go the string car1 is equal to s that's substring I plus 1 dot convert to lowercase. Okay, and let's go string char2 equals s dot substring s dot length minus I minus 1 s dot length minus I, which gets it from the reverse, dot to lowercase. So, if you're getting errors like these, I always find it helpful to break your code down into small chunks and then figure out which chunk is giving you the error. Finally, we can test if char1 dot equals char2. Actually, if not equals. If they don't equal, then we want to set palindrome to false. And it could also be the case that we just made an error writing out that really long statement. And so writing it like this, even though it may be a bit more inefficient, will actually make you a better and faster coder. So if we run this, let's see if we get an error again. And we also want to break the loop. Just thought of that. And we're actually not getting an error. So we probably made a mistake writing that long statement, and so it was a good thing to break it all down. So if we put in an actual palindrome like race car, as you can see, it says that it is a palindrome. Let's check for like the case sensitivity. So let's put Bob in, and it should also print true. Now let's put if something isn't a palindrome, like apple. And as you can see, it detects that it's not in palindrome, and therefore we've got our code working. So as long as if we don't get an error, that's the end of this REPL.it Java for loop speed. Oh, never mind. Oh, we just need. Oh no, we put false, but they expect to see true. I think I know why. I think what we actually have to do is not use s.length, but actually s.length plus 1 divided by 2. And the reason for that is I've made a small mistake with my math, and so we want to make it so that it will give the same number regardless of, it will give, if it's an odd number, it will give 1 less than the middle character. Otherwise, if it's an even number, it will give the middle character. And so we actually have to add a plus 1. If you want to find out why, maybe pull out a notebook and just try and sketch it out. But yeah, usually if we're getting errors like this, it can be something to do with just being off by 1 on the index, at least hopefully. Could it be -1? I think it might be -1. But still. Wait, how do they expect to see true? Was it a car or a cat I saw? This isn't a palindrome. Oh, ignoring spaces. Okay. So we have to ignore spaces, which will make this challenge a slight bit harder, but not super hard. And to ignore spaces, we're going to use a method called replace. So we can say s is equal to s.replace, and it takes in 2 arguments. It takes in what we want to replace, which is a space, and we want to replace it with nothing. And so this will remove all of the spaces from s, and so now we shouldn't get errors unless I made a mistake. To space o t, and yeah, okay, so it should be okay now. Whoopsies, sorry about that. I didn't read it, but I guess that's why it's always good to read the question again. And as you can see now, it's getting the tests correct. So as long as we don't have errors, this should be the end of the speedrun. Mm. And yeah, that's it. So thank you for watching this REPL speedrun. If you liked seeing me speedrun this Java course, leave a comment and leave a like on this video, and make sure to subscribe for more awesome coding content. See you later.